This video is going to be my reaction to the Lions' 24-23 win over the Chiefs in Kansas City, week 2 of the preseason. Thought the Lions' defense, their second stringers, third stringers, competed throughout the day. They gave up some big plays. Stephen Gilmore gets beat on like a deeper out combination route from the number 3 receiver, 64, 65-yard touchdown. I thought Amik Robertson's coverage on the third down touchdown to Xavier Worthy was very weird and unusual for him. Too easy for the Chiefs to score in that situation. But the defense stayed and competed pretty much all day. Obviously, Pat Mahomes and those guys didn't play more than 2 possessions. Josh Paschal, Jake Bates, Isaiah Williams, and others helped them steal a win on the road in the preseason that really means nothing, but you saw the character of a lot of guys. I want to mention that punt return by Isaiah Williams. You have the situation where Paschal forces the fumble by Ian Book, and then the Lions turn the football right back over through, I think, 3 plays later. The fumble on the exchange between Hendon Hooker and Zonovan Knight. Then the punt return by Isaiah Williams really made it a foregone conclusion that you were going to, at minimum, get a long field goal attempt. Super brilliant effort by Williams. I guess you could almost call it gritty, tough, to be able to break, I thought, 2 tackles, get the ball down there pretty close. Additionally, there was some really confusing play calls by the Chiefs. Whoever's calling their plays, you would presume it's Andy Reid, late in the fourth quarter. Granted, it's a preseason game. Starters aren't in there. You have a third, fourth-string quarterback in Ian Book in the game. Nonetheless, it has to be mentioned, in my opinion, because it showed a complete lack of awareness of the situation and who you had on the field. The Lions also had 3 turnovers today. You had 1 on a kick return, interception thrown by Sudfeld to DPJ on like a dig route. I just don't think at any point in time of that route is DPJ open. And then the lost fumble on the exchange. It looked like a poor snap as well. Hendon Hooker really never had control of it. I'm going to mention some game situations, some game flow. Talk about Nate Sudfeld a lot because I think he looked vastly different today than he did last week in New York in the rain and all that weather. Lions didn't seem to be worried about running the ball a lot today. It was almost like they ran just enough to let the Chiefs know that, hey, occasionally we're going to call some run concepts. Threw it a ton. Sudfeld had 27 throws in the first half. He did have the interception, but a number of good decisions on the day. Got the ball out fast. I thought 2 different times navigated the pocket, kind of moved around just outside of the pocket to find space. He almost directed a touchdown drive near the end of the second quarter that I want to talk about just from the standpoint of how many good decisions he's making and how many different guys are involved with some of these plays. This is their 6th possession. There was a lot of possessions in the first half, obviously, and this one ends up cutting it to 16-12. You can see all the passes that are involved here and multiple throws underneath to Sione Vaki, who played really well. And even Jake Funk, I think, had a 16 or 17-yard catch on a 3rd and 10 inside of a minute left. Yes, the Chiefs were playing some soft coverages. They played 2-man multiple times. I had a Chiefs stream that I was watching, so I got to listen to Trent Green, and I'm not sure who the other guy in the booth is for them. Trent Green, former NFL quarterback, really high-level player. He did a nice job of breaking down some of the things that the Chiefs do in certain situations. We'll give up the underneath throws here, which seems quite obvious. Vaki had, I think, 3 catches on this drive. He's got great instincts. When he catches the ball, it's almost like he knows where the leverage is. And I'm going to go ahead and turn here this way to my left because I know the defender's on my right. There was a near touchdown, I thought, here to Davis on a little fade to the outside, but it was overthrown. It was Williams. I believe there was a hold. It was a 1st and goal from the 5 down there. I thought it was a ball that was thrown a little better than the route made it look like. Jaden Hicks, rookie corner, I think from Washington State. I thought he held on the 1st and goal. 2nd down throw is overthrown by Sudfeld. They're unable to get a touchdown there, but this was an interesting drive for me, and it's an interesting first half because of the offensive philosophy, a drastic shift, a drastic departure, if you ask me, from the 50-50 balanced nature of this offense under Ben Johnson when you have the starters out there. And I would not have thought that I'd be sitting here saying that Nate Sudfeld threw the ball really well. The Lions at the half had 244 offensive yards, and they averaged 6.8 yards per play. I thought that was pretty notable given how much they struggled last week on offense. Caden Davis's 61-yard touchdown catch up the left side obviously boosts that yards per play number. Nonetheless, Sudfeld, I thought, looked vastly different this week. He was really comfortable in those 11 personnel situations, which is basically what they were in on this entire 6th drive. As you can see, the third column from the left gives the personnel grouping, which in this case was all 11. I'll let some game stats flow through here. Vaki and Funk were impressive to me on that drive and in the first half overall. Isaiah Williams, Caden Davis, the ball was spread around among multiple receivers, whether Sudfeld was throwing or Hendon Hooker. I will repeat something that I think it was Ken said in our Lions Discord. It's going to be hard to see Isaiah Williams getting through waivers as well as he played today, and I thought he played well last week in New York as well. The Chiefs, if you recall, had jumped ahead 6-0 with their starters on the field offensively, a pair of field goal drives when Mahomes is on the field. Lions fumbled the ensuing kickoff after falling down 6-0, and Carson Wentz hits Xavier Worthy on a third down touchdown pass against Robertson. I thought Robertson had played him well twice earlier. The Chiefs were clearly trying to force feed the football to Worthy. 6 targets and 1 reverse called. He fumbled on that one, by the way, in the first, I think, 3 possessions. But this was a weird one, this touchdown. 22-yard touchdown pass. Middle of the field was vacated. Robertson, as the ball is in the air, almost looks like, I don't want to say he's given up on the play, but his body language, his approach looked drastically different from everything that I had seen of him covering man-to-man so far. He had been in tight coverage. Was he looking for help? Did he expect help? I have no idea. Lions fought their way back, as I kind of previously mentioned, on the strength of Sudfeld's decision-making. Except for that interception, you had the long touchdown pass to Caden Davis, the running backs catching underneath at the half. Funk had the 1 catch for 16 yards. Vaki had 4 catches for 59 yards. So 5 catches between those 2 running backs for 75 yards. Lions defense, I thought, even when Mahomes and Kelsey and Worthy and Rice were in there, they were competing. The talent level was different. You had guys like Vildor, Khalil Dorsey, Robertson, all played most of the first half. Mahomes generally had a quick answer for pretty much everything he saw. When they played a Tampa 2, he hit a strike along the hash. When they played some type of zone that left the sidelines open, he hit Worthy up the left sideline. I'm not sure how he got open on that initial third down, but one thing I will mention, that first third down that Worthy makes the big catch on like a corner route up the left side, he's clearly moving at the snap, almost like the Canadian Football League situation where they can go in motion, but it wasn't called. Nonetheless, have to give credit to the Lions defenders who were on the field for holding them to a pair of field goals. 16-12 at the half. It was a long first half, if you ask me, except for that one interception. I thought Sudfeld navigated the pressure and the coverages brilliantly. Hooker came in the second half. He missed a wide open, I think it's Darius Fountain on the opening possession of the third quarter. That play was set up with room to run for Fountain if he catches the ball. It was like a QB boot to the right. Ball's overthrown, and then the drive ends up stalling on a third down screen to Alexander that gets knocked down by one of the DNs. Williams played incredibly well. I thought he was impressive. A number of underneath catches. I think he's really separated himself from the other receivers in terms of production, meaning the overall number of catches that he's made. You can see from the stats today, he had 6 catches, I believe, on 6 targets. And last week, I thought it was 4 for 5. Caden Davis had the big one in the third quarter. Hooker did do a nice job of sharing the football. Alexander, Williams, Fountain. One other throw that was kind of hot, I thought, in terms of being over the head of the running back. They're able to pull within 16-15 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. For me, up through 3 quarters, the game was, it's fun to watch from the standpoint of the backups or second string, third string guys that are battling for a spot, but it did drag on. I will be honest with you. The fourth quarter, the turnovers, and some of that excitement kind of woke me up a little bit. I understand that most of the conversation will talk about Mahomes and the behind-the-back pass. Lions fans, I'm expecting we'll talk about and credit Sudfeld for throwing the ball a whole lot better this week. But the defense guys on the second and third string, I have to give credit for them. They played hard, competed, and in some cases were overmatched. I thought the Chiefs had opportunities to score in the first half. I believe they averaged 6 yards per carry in the first half. Didn't throw an interception, and the guys were out there competing. Matthew Betts had a sack and another quarterback pressure. Uku had another sack on the Chiefs, third string quarterback. Although on the play when Uku has a sack, he kind of stops running. It looked like he kind of gave up on the play. Nearly forced a fumble. I believe they ruled the quarterback down. Thought the coverage guys were playing well as it's 16-15 in the third quarter, and that all kind of got ruined in terms of the defense on the big touchdown pass from, I forget how to say his name, the quarterback, Aladuakin, to Cornell Powell. 64 yards. He beats Stephen Gilmore on like a slot out. It's a very commonly used route for the Chiefs. They're kind of making it look like the number 3 receiver is going to run vertical or press towards the middle of the field, and then he brings the route back out to the sideline. Gilmore's there. I mean, he's close. He's there. He's super fast. He just can't get to the ball because of where it was thrown. Again, I was watching a Chiefs stream, and Trent Gilmore, a former NFL quarterback, did a nice job explaining. He said, hey, the ball was thrown in a way that Gilmore had trouble getting to it. It was almost no chance to get to it. That touchdown pushed it to 23-15. One thing I was disappointed with on that particular play, Gilmore almost seemed to stop running for a moment as the receiver catches the ball. Like he thought that other people were going to catch him. And eventually Gilmore, turns on the jets, tracks the receiver down right near the goal line, tries to punch the ball out. Like I said, it's a favorite route of the Chiefs. I've seen it work against multiple starting level corners. I'm not disappointed in Gilmore from the talent standpoint, but the lack of hustle for a moment in the middle of the play is something that I noticed. When Hooker goes down and scrambles into the end zone from like 10 or 12 yards out to make it 23-21, I don't know about you, but the first thing I thought of was, you have to go for 2. You're down by 2. They seem to have had trouble, the Lions offense, inside the 6 or 7 yard line in these 2 preseason games. The 4th down call last week that was batted down on an attempt to throw it to Knight against the Giants out into the right flats. A blitz pressure came off the edge, knocked the pass down. In this case, they didn't go with a shotgun formation. Ben Johnson called basically I formation, play action. The fullback, I think it was 43, picks up a defensive end, and then Funk as the tailback just couldn't handle the linebacker at all, who gets in there, and Hooker didn't like what he saw at all, eventually takes the sack. Me, personally, I would have liked for Vaki to be on at that moment, but maybe the coaching staff had certain possessions scheduled for particular guys. I like Jake Funk, but to me, like, Vaki is the guy. Even Zonovan Knight, who's a player that I really root for. I like the guy from listening to him talk, seeing him play in 2022 with the Jets. Nonetheless, for me, if I need points, I'd like to see Vaki be in there. I thought the questionable play calling by the Chiefs happened here when Ian Book got into the game. You had a 3rd and long after a a second down bad snap by the Chiefs backup center. Book jumps on it and then kind of almost fumbles again, creates a 3rd and long. And Andy Reid or whoever's calling plays calls a double screen on 3rd and long. When you're at that point, they're up 23-21. Late 4th quarter, you have the 4th quarterback in. If it's Patrick Mahomes, okay, cool. And you trust him to be able to execute a double screen with 3 or 4 or 5 minutes left and you're only up by 2, fine. For my money, in a preseason with a 4th string quarterback, someone who'd only been in for 1 possession anyway, get a safe playoff and play defense. The Lions, after the turnover that's forced by Pascal on the sack, or strip sack, I should say, you get the high snap between Hooker and high snap and the poor mesh between Hooker and Knight. It looked like maybe Hooker and the H-back who's coming across were reading it, be like a dual read option play with the potential for Hooker to keep it around the left side, I think the top side of the TV screen, and follow the H-back out into the flats. Just wasn't a clean handoff at all. In fact, it was extremely ugly. Snap was high, like I said, whatever you want to call it. If it's a regular season game, you could even maybe have a problem with that call, meaning it's a backup quarterback. at least for a preseason game. It's a backup quarterback. Let's just run a play, and if we don't score, then we kick a field goal when we're in the lead. But again, that one's being a little bit picky. I still have a problem with the Chiefs' play call on the ensuing possession. When they take over after the fumble by Hooker/Knight, they're still ahead 23-21. The 2nd and 11 play call by the Chiefs, and you may not remember it, you may not notice it the way I do, it's no problem if you think I'm being too critical. It's a 2nd and 11. The Chiefs are backed up to, I think they're -4. And they go sprint out to the right with limited options for Ian Book to throw to. He has to throw it out of bounds because there's good coverage by the Lions on the play. With limited options to throw and my quarterback running in the end zone when we're only up 2, if this were a regular season game, I would have a problem with that if I was a Chiefs fan. But nonetheless, I understand if you, as a Lions fan, think I'm being too picky. Even the ensuing play call, the 3rd and 11, I thought preserved the 2-minute warning for the Lions. And then the punt. Isaiah Williams seems like a talented athlete, a guy who did fumble a punt return earlier because he was fighting for yards. In this case, it didn't come back to haunt him fighting for more yards late in the 4th quarter because he made, along with Josh Paschal, perhaps the play of the game. The punt return, I thought he broke 2 tackles to get down to the bottom side of the field, or to the right hash, The Lions clearly, and Jake Bates clearly preferred the ball to be on the left hash because that's where they worked it to after the knee, and then Hendon Hooker taking the snap, going to the left, and then sliding down. I thought it was an interesting game in the 4th quarter, the last 10, 12 minutes. There was a time period in the 3rd quarter where, I don't know about you, but it felt like it was dragging on somewhat. I don't know if this thought's ever occurred to you, but a part of me was, for a moment, thinking, and I hate the idea of an 18-game schedule, but I understand why people would not want to see, would be okay if they eliminated one of the preseason games, because there was a moment there during the 3rd quarter where I found myself dragging a little bit in terms of documenting the plays, documenting what you saw on the 6 possession breakdown where I do the personnel and all of that. As an aside, if you're interested in that data being made available for you in terms of personnel grouping, formation, play concept, etc., I do offer that to the people that are in my Patreon. It's a part of the service that's $4.99 a month, $4.99 a month for Lions fans. You guys have to let me know if you agree with any of my thoughts, crediting the Lions defense, the 2nd and 3rd stringers, obviously for battling, and early on they were outnumbered or out-athleted, just sheerly giving up talent level to Mahomes and the first-string offense. But they kept fighting, and I thought kept scrapping, and holding the Chiefs to field goals on those first 2 possessions was in some ways the difference in the game. In any case, let me know what you guys think of my impressions and my thoughts, my almost instant reaction to this game. I tried to get it out within a half an hour, but didn't work. And if you think other Lions fans would appreciate or enjoy this reaction with some of my thoughts to the gameplay and the players who really impressed today, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Lions fans can enjoy it as well. Appreciate you guys' time.